Tomorrow night, 48 Hours investigates a murder mystery in the shadow of the Las Vegas Strip. Shauna and George Tiafe were married with a daughter. Shauna was a popular casino employee. Her husband was paid to save lives. But their world fell apart back in 2012, and here's a preview of Peter Van Sant's report.
Customers at the Palms Casino loved Shauna Tiafe. She made close to $100,000 a year as a glamorous cocktail waitress, as her sister Paula recalls.
Always had the long hair, just looked perfect, like a little China doll.
Shauna met George at the casino where they both worked. He was an Army man after graduating from West Point, later becoming a Las Vegas fireman. George's sister, Maria.
They're both hardworking people. They're both good-looking people. They made a lovely couple.
They had a beautiful baby girl. But as good as things were, after 2 happy years of marriage, Shauna complained to her sister that George had become jealous, controlling, and critical of her.
It was all those little things that built up over time.
And Shauna was uncomfortable when George brought a homeless man into their lives to do odd jobs around the house. Friend Stephanie Vargas.
She would call him creepy. God, he's so creepy. Why is he around my house?
After 10 years together, Shauna moved out into this townhouse. On September 29, 2012, after Shauna left work in the early morning hours, someone lay in wait for her in her home.
She enters into the hallway. It's dark, there's no light.
Dan Long and Terry Miller are investigators with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
She moves towards the stairway to go upstairs to her bedroom.
When suddenly, Shauna was attacked by someone wielding a hammer.
And she was savagely beaten with this metal head of that hammer until she was dead.
Cops soon learned her estranged husband had a rock-solid alibi. He'd worked an all-night shift at the firehouse. But within 48 hours, detectives get a crucial tip from an unlikely source, a maintenance worker, William Penix, known as Big Will. He told police a friend, nicknamed Greyhound, boasted he had just murdered a woman. There were clues everywhere, in the desert tent where he was living and on his cell phone. What kind of numbers do you find on that phone?
Well, we find a guy by the name of George in his cell phone. And when we ask him, who's George, he says, that's my friend, the firefighter.
This is Vegas. You just hit all sevens, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
we did.
Peter Van Sant joins us at the table. You've been working this case for over 3 years. Sounds like George has some splaining to do. Like
he does. I mean, we now have a link between Greyhound, whose real name is Noel Stevens, who was his handyman, and potentially this murder. But the defense says, well, they talked all the time because he was his handyman.
So the phone records were really important.
Phone records become very important because they discover 87 calls between these two people, and eventually they focus in on Noel Stevens, who admits that he did the killing. But did George Tiafe put him up to it? And it ends up at trial, and Noel Stevens becomes the strangest witness I have ever experienced in all my years on 48 Hours, a man who is admitted to be mentally ill, hears voices, hallucinates, and yet he's the star witness in this case. And who will you believe, him or a West Point grad? It's a very dramatic trial.
Yeah, and that's what you call a good tease, Peter Van Sant.
There
Thank
you go.
You can watch Peter's full report. It's called Vengeance in Vegas tomorrow night on 48 Hours. It's at 10 o'clock, 9 Central, right here on CBS.